In the shadowed corridors of European history, there exists a remarkable group of queens whose names rarely make it into school lessons or popular documentaries. Yet their lives were filled with political intrigue, heartbreak, and moments of extraordinary power. These forgotten queens lived at the heart of royal courts, navigating alliances, betrayals, and cultural transformations, even as later historians minimized or misunderstood their influence. Their private worlds reveal not only the struggles of ruling in a male-dominated society, but also the intelligence and resilience that allowed them to leave an enduring, if mostly uncredited, mark on Europe. One such figure was Mary, Queen of Hungary, who ascended the throne as a child and immediately faced a political landscape filled with ambitious nobles and strategic marriages. Her reign was a constant balancing act, projecting authority, defending her legitimacy, and negotiating with powerful factions who doubted a young woman's right to rule. Though often sidelined in traditional histories, Mary's behind-the-scenes diplomatic maneuvering shaped her kingdom's direction during a tumultuous era. Her private life was equally challenging, marked by personal losses and the pressure to secure alliances while maintaining her own identity as a sovereign. Another overlooked queen, Margaret Sambiria of Denmark, became a key political force when she assumed the regency for her young son. Far from being a symbolic figurehead, she handled real political crises, mediated conflicts, and even governed far-off territories. In her private chambers, she corresponded with church leaders, managed estates, and built networks of loyal supporters. Her quiet authority demonstrates how queens could wield substantial influence even without sitting on the throne themselves. In the early medieval world, Ostrigild, a Merovingian queen consort, illustrates how women navigated limited public roles by working through personal alliances. Despite legal and cultural restrictions, queens like Ostrigild often shaped court politics through persuasion, strategic relationships, and religious patronage. While official chronicles seldom credited them directly, their fingerprints remain in the political and cultural shifts of their time. Few rivalries were as legendary or as distorted by later storytellers as the battle between Queen Brunhild and Fredegund. These two formidable rulers became symbols of power and cunning, but their actual lives were far more complex. Both governed during periods of instability, negotiated treaties, commanded armies, and made decisions that affected the destiny of entire kingdoms. History often painted them as villains or caricatures, especially Fredegund, whose reputation became entangled with rumors of violence and intrigue. Yet their private lives reveal women who survived in a ruthless world by mastering the tools available to them: diplomacy, marriage, strategy, and at times, ruthless calculation. Further west, Urraca of León and Castile stands as one of Europe's earliest sovereign queens. Her reign was marked by rebellion, political manipulation, and tense marriage alliances, but she remained fiercely independent. Inside her private world, letters, negotiations, and strategic alliances show a ruler determined to maintain her authority even when powerful men sought to control her. Her emotional and political resilience remind us that queenship was rarely as glamorous as legend suggests. It required endurance, intelligence, and an iron will. Some queens lived most of their lives in the shadows of distant courts. Berengaria of Navarre, for instance, spent much of her marriage separated from her husband, Richard the Lionheart. Though her name is barely recognized today, she lived a life shaped by diplomacy, displacement, and the quiet strength required to maintain royal dignity despite isolation. Her private world, a mix of loneliness, duty, and personal conviction, reflects the unseen emotional labor performed by many royal women.
Others, like Catherine of Braganza, faced immense private suffering while navigating public roles. As Queen Consort of England, Catherine endured multiple miscarriages, political suspicion due to her religion, and an often unfaithful husband. Behind the formal portraits and state ceremonies, her life was one of resilience, holding firm to her faith, maintaining cultural traditions, and surviving the pressures of a court that never fully embraced her. Her story highlights how royal duty often demanded emotional sacrifice, a reality rarely explored in mainstream history. Beyond politics, forgotten queens shaped Europe through cultural and artistic patronage. They sponsored monasteries, supported scholars, and influenced artistic trends. Their private investments in religion, architecture, and literature often had ripple effects far beyond their lifetimes. In their private correspondence and household records, we see the quiet authority they exercised through influence rather than decree, a reminder that power is not always loud. Why were these queens forgotten? Much of it stems from the biases of early historians, who focused on battles, kings, and male-centered narratives. Queens who ruled behind the scenes or whose contributions were subtle were often dismissed as unimportant. Even those who wielded direct power were sometimes vilified or reduced to stereotypes because their actions defied expectations of feminine behavior. As a result, many queens disappeared from mainstream memory, leaving behind lives hidden in footnotes and archives. Yet modern scholarship is slowly bringing their stories to light. Historians are re-examining documents with fresh perspectives, discovering how queens shaped diplomacy, religion, and culture. By studying their private worlds, their letters, alliances, emotional struggles, and daily decisions, we begin to see a more accurate picture of European history, one where women were not bystanders but active participants. Ultimately, the private worlds of Europe's forgotten queens reveal a profound truth. Power has many forms, and influence often works from the shadows. These women survived hostile courts, shifting alliances, and personal tragedies, all while shaping the futures of their kingdoms in ways that are only now being fully understood. Their stories remind us that history's silence does not reflect their importance, only our failure to listen. And that's something worth remembering the next time we imagine what life inside a royal court was truly like.